I turned 33 on a Monday, the kind of day that doesn't feel like a birthday, just another square on the calendar pretending to mean something. The sky over Seattle was a washed-out gray, a color that fit the mood of the week. Lauren had insisted on planning something special. She'd said it 3 times in the days leading up to it. "Don't make plans, Ethan. I've got it." I'd smiled when she said it, pretending not to notice the distance in her eyes lately, the way she'd started checking her phone between conversations, laughing at something unseen. Still, I believed her. I always did. 2 years together teaches you the rhythms of someone's voice, when it means affection, when it means distraction. Hers carried both, and I told myself it was just stress. The plan, or at least what I thought it was, involved dinner at a small Thai restaurant by the waterfront. We'd gone there the night she first said she loved me. It had the kind of light that made everyone look softer, like the world forgave you while you ate. We sat by the window that night, the ferries drifting past in silence, and I remember thinking that this was what peace looked like. A table for 2, no noise, just the quiet certainty that you were seen. It was that same certainty I wanted to feel again. A birthday didn't need fireworks, just honesty. At 3:30 that afternoon, my phone buzzed. A single message. "Work crisis. Totally drained. Rain check. So sorry, babe." I stared at it for a while, not angry, not even disappointed, just tired. I could almost see her apartment. The glow of her laptop, the half-empty mug beside it, the excuse taking shape before she even typed it. Still, I told her it was okay. I told her to rest. Then I canceled the reservation. The restaurant didn't ask for a reason. They just took my name off the list. A small erasure. A detail that would mean nothing to them but linger for me. By 6, I'd ordered sushi and opened a beer. I turned on the TV, cycling through shows I'd already seen, the kind of background noise you use to hide the sound of being alone. Birthdays after 30 lose their shine. They stop being about surprises and start being about who remembers. And that night, the list was short. Kayla called, my sister, always punctual, always loyal. She asked what Lauren had planned. I lied. I told her we'd rescheduled, that work had gotten in the way. Kayla laughed softly, said, "You deserve better than a rain check, little brother." When the call ended, the silence returned heavier. I thought about driving to Lauren's place anyway, showing up with takeout and candles just to prove the night didn't have to die quietly. But that felt desperate, and desperation was a language I'd promised myself not to speak anymore. So I stayed home, watched the rain gather against the window, let the sushi go cold. At 9, the phone buzzed again. Not her this time. Kayla again, but no words, just a message and an image. "You seeing this?" It was a screensh *T. Lauren, smiling at a rooftop bar in Belltown, framed by city lights and laughter. She held a cocktail, a bright pink drink with sugared edges. Around her, 3 friends, 2 women I recognized from her office, 1 man I didn't. The caption read, "Tonight was exactly what I needed. Love being around the people who really matter, Red Heart." The words burned slow. I read them once, then again, as if repetition would change the meaning. The people who really matter. There it was, the quiet cruelty of omission. I wasn't angry, not right away. Just hollow. I stared at the photo until my reflection in the dark screen looked like someone else. A man still holding on to a story everyone else had stopped reading. I scrolled through her page. The post was public but recent. 10 minutes old. Comments already piling in, hearts, emojis, a few from the man beside her. "You look incredible tonight. So good to finally get you out again, Red Heart." His name was Trevor. I remembered it because she'd mentioned him once. "New guy at work," she'd said. "Total goofball, harmless." I believed that too. My thumb hovered over her name, the urge to call rising like a pulse. But what would I say? "Caught you? Happy birthday to me?" Instead, I locked the screen and set the phone face down. The silence in the room pressed against me, heavier now, like the air itself knew something I didn't want to admit. I poured another beer, though the first was still half full. The bitterness filled my throat. Outside, the rain started again. A thin drizzle that blurred the lights across the window, turning the city into a smear of gold and blue. Somewhere out there, a woman I loved was laughing in a place she told me she was too tired to be. I wondered if she thought about me at all, or if she'd already rewritten the story in her head. One where the lie was harmless, where it didn't count because it wasn't romantic, because it was just one night. People like to say honesty is hard. But it's not. It's easy. The silence that costs something. And that night, she'd bought herself a few hours of it with one small, perfect lie. 10. I got another message. From her this time. Still up? I waited before replying. 10 minutes. 15. Long enough to make her wonder. Yeah. Just finishing a movie. Sorry again about tonight. Things got crazy. I'll make it up to you, promise. Don't worry about it, I wrote. Hope you're resting. 3 dots appeared. Then vanished. No reply. The TV light flickered across the empty room. I muted it and just listened. To the hum of the refrigerator, the rain against the glass, the faint sound of my neighbor's footsteps upstairs. All of it ordinary, all of it more honest than the words she'd sent me. I told myself I'd talk to her tomorrow. That maybe there was a reasonable explanation. That maybe the photo wasn't from tonight. That maybe she'd just reposted something old. But lies, once you taste them, don't wash away with sleep. They linger on the tongue. When I finally went to bed, the phone lay face down on the nightstand. The city outside pulsed with light and sound. Laughter, engines, sirens. Life continuing without me. I thought about calling her one last time. I didn't. Instead, I whispered to the ceiling, "Happy birthday, Ethan." No one answered. The truth didn't come all at once that night. It arrived in fragments, in the stillness of her silence, in the timing of her text, in the caption written like a confession wrapped in charm. I realized then that betrayal rarely starts with big things. It begins with small, quiet edits to reality. Words like tired, busy, tomorrow. Each one a thread pulled from the fabric of trust until there's nothing left to hold. That night, I learned how fast a promise can unravel, and how silence, when dressed as mercy, can be the cruelest lie of all. I didn't rage. I didn't call her a liar. I took the hurt the way a man takes a nail in his boot. I walked with it, let it cut until I understood exactly where it was lodged. Anger is fireworks. I needed a flashlight, so I called her. "Hey," I said, light as steam from a kettle. "Long day? Just checking on you." She exhaled into the phone like she'd just set down 1,000 pounds. "You have no idea. I'm dead, Ethan." I was in back-to-back calls. I barely ate. I pictured the pink drink, the roofline, the grin. "I bet. I had something small planned for you. A surprise. Nothing big. Thought I'd swing by with it." Silence. Then a soft laugh, practiced, careful. "You're sweet. But I'm in bed already. Sweats. Face washed. Zombie mode." "Of course," I said. "Sleep. We'll celebrate later." "Tomorrow," she promised. "I'll make it up to you." The word tomorrow slid over me like oil. It didn't sink in. It shone, it coated, it lied. I hung up and looked at the apartment like it might answer back. Dishes still stacked from the sushi I hadn't really eaten. The faint scent of soy and ginger clinging to the air. The TV paused mid-scene. 2 strangers laughing at a joke I'd already forgotten. I stood, put on shoes, slipped my jacket on. I wrote a note on a small square of paper, my handwriting neat, deliberate. "Lauren, I was here. You weren't. Happy birthday anyway." I taped it to the front door, just below the peephole, where the first touch of her hand would find it. Then I turned off every light, opened the back door, and stepped into the night. The alley behind my building was damp and cold, a narrow trench of shadow between brick and chain link. I took the stairs down and crossed the lot to my car, the old sedan that still smelled faintly of coffee and winter. I slid into the driver's seat and K** led the interior light before it could reveal me. From that angle, I had a clean view of my own front door. Waiting is its own confession. Says, "I still want to be wrong." Says, "I need proof to bury hope with." The rain pressed a fine veil across the windshield. I wiped a circle clear with my sleeve and watched the street settle into its late-hour rhythm. A bus sighing past, a cyclist gliding through a red light, A couple walking by in coats that whispered when they moved. At 10:03, headlights turned onto the block and slowed. Car door opened. She stepped out. Not sweats. Not a hoodie. Not a woman who had collapsed into righteous exhaustion. A woman who had been seen and adored and lit by city neon. A dress the color of smoke. Hair still holding the memory of a careful hand. Gloss on her mouth. She glowed with everything she had denied. She walked with that quick, purposeful stride I loved. The one that usually meant she had good news. At my door, she paused, fished in her bag for keys, and found the note before the metal. I watched her read it once, saw her swallow, saw her read it again, slower, as if the letters might rearrange into mercy. Then the phone came out. My pocket buzzed. Ethan? I'm outside. Are you home? Another buzz. Did you fall asleep, babe? She knocked, soft at first. A second time, louder, the kind of knock that carries apology inside it so you'll hear the contrition and not the nerve. She called my name like we were playing a game in a grocery store aisle. Ethan? Where'd you go? I didn't move. I didn't answer. I watched. Her face worked through the obvious steps. Confusion. Annoyance. A flicker of fear. Back to annoyance. She tried the knob once. As if locks forget loyalty. As if doors get lonely. Another message. Please open. I'm sorry about today. Work was hell. The lie was so small in her mouth. It barely took any breath to lift. She sat down on the hallway carpet, tucked her dress beneath her, and leaned against the wood. A woman resting. A woman waiting for the story to let her back in. My phone rang. I let it die. It rang again. I turned the ringer off and trusted the vibration to keep count for me. I studied her the way a contractor studies a cracked beam. Not with cruelty, but with clarity. There's a point at which repair is still love. Then there's the point beyond it, the place where repair is just denial with a tool belt. I counted her breaths. I counted the way she folded her arms to keep warm. I counted the minutes because I needed this to be math, not weather. The text shifted tone. Tiny inches of theater I could hear in my head. Where are you became are you mad, which became please talk to me, which became can I come in, which became Ethan, this isn't fair. The last one thrummed in my palm like a dare. 10:41, Trevor called. His name flashed across her screen. She stared at it and let it ring out, as if the sound itself might betray her to the hallway. She typed something, deleted it, typed again, sent it, face tight, lips pressed thin the way they get when she's closing a deal. The rain thickened, a steady prayer on the roofline. A neighbor shuffled past with a laundry basket and did a double take at the woman in the nice dress sitting on the floor, then decided, like most people do, that someone else's scene is a mirror you don't look into for long. I pictured the rooftop again, the caption, the laugh. I pictured the words, the people who really matter, and tried them on my tongue. They tasted like an old coin. They tasted like blood. At 11:07, she stood and knocked one more time, knuckles softer, as if the door were the thing that could bruise. Ethan? She said low like prayer. Please, can we talk? We could have. I could have stood up, walked across the lot, taken the stairs, opened the lock, and let her spin the silk. It would have been easy to let hope take the pen again. Hope writes fast. Hope forgives commas that don't belong and periods that should have been question marks. Instead, I watched the exact second her face settled. The second effort stopped being a plan and became a cost. She drew her coat tighter, pulled the note from the door, folded it, and tucked it into her bag like evidence she wasn't ready to present yet. Then she sank to the floor again and curled her knees in close, phone in her hand like a lifeline she couldn't decide to grab. Midnight. The building sighed. The city dimmed. She sent one last message that didn't ask for anything. Happy birthday, baby. I'm sorry. I believed the second sentence, not the first. I sat with her there, apart and beside, until the night had only the thinnest threads left. A test, yes, but not of her alone. Of me. Could I witness what was in front of me without rescuing it? Could I let silence mean what it meant, not what I wished it meant? At 12:23, she stood, stiff and small, and walked away. The hallway swallowed her heels. The door closed below us with a careful click, like a promise being put back in its box. I stayed in the car another 10 minutes. Then I let myself back in through the rear, climbed the stairs, and crossed the dark to the door she had leaned against. On the wood, the faint trace of her perfume remained, sweetness flattened by rain and time. I pressed my palm to that place. Cold, honest, empty. I locked the deadbolt and went to bed. I lay on my back and listened to the pipes knock, the city hum, the ghost of her voice rehearsing the next scene. Tomorrow we would talk. Tonight, I had watched the truth arrive and sit down by my door, shivering, waiting, dressed too beautifully to be believed. Morning came on the color of dishwater and regret. I slept the way a man drowns, quiet, sinking, dreaming of air I could no longer name. When I finally rose, the apartment smelled like last night's rain and a birthday that didn't happen. The note was gone from the door. In its place, the shape of her absence. Lauren texted at 7:14 a.m. Can we meet? Coffee? Please. Pin followed. A small cafe on a corner in Belltown, the kind that looks like a postcard someone forgot to mail. I went because closure is a word for people who can't admit they want one more performance. I went because I still needed the flashlight, not the fireworks. She was already there when I walked in. At a window table, hunched, hands wrapped around a paper cup like it might warm more than fingers. Same dress as last night under a long coat. Makeup smudged into softer versions of itself. The glamour had burned down to ashen eyes. Hey, she said, standing too fast. The chair legs scraped a sound like apology. You look. She stopped. Honesty, finally, because the lies were too tired to lift. You look like you didn't sleep. Neither did you, I said. We sat. The city passed on the other side of the glass, indifferent. Baristas called names that didn't belong to us. In the reflection, we looked like two strangers rehearsing a scene they hadn't agreed to. She touched the rim of her cup, then set it down like the object might break if she leaned on it. Before you say anything, she started, voice careful. I want to tell you the truth. You owe me that, I said. My voice surprised me, steady, clean, no tremor. Her mouth tightened. She nodded. Last night wasn't work. I wasn't tired. I didn't want to be alone with you on your birthday. I wanted... She exhaled, eyes closing just long enough to choose a smaller word than the one she meant. I wanted a reaction. I let the sentence sit between us until it cooled. From me. From you, she said. From them. From anyone. I felt you drifting, like you show up but only with the safe parts. I thought if I looked... She gestured vaguely toward a world of phones and angles. If I looked wanted, you'd want me again. Wanted. The room dimmed around that word. So you lied. I curated, she said, and then flinched at her own choice. Fine. I lied. I told you I was exhausted and then I went out. Posted. I hid the stories from you. I've been doing that for a while. How long? She stared out the window, counting cars that didn't matter. Months. The math of betrayal never impresses me. Single digits, double, seasons, it all equals the same sum. And Trevor. Her eyes snapped back. He's a coworker. It's not like that. Like what? Like what you're thinking, she said. I never slept with him. I never even kissed him. I just invited him into the frame. She lifted her phone, set it down again without unlocking it. I asked him to like my posts, to comment, to make it look like a chase. I told him you wouldn't see, that I had it blocked. He's dumb enough to think that's flirtation. I was dumb enough to think it was strategy. Strategy, I repeated. The word tasted corporate and empty. A campaign. She nodded once, small and wretched. A campaign to make you feel what you made me feel. What did I make you feel? Invisible, she said. It broke out of her without polish. You used to look at me like I was the only clear thing in the room. Lately you look through me. You're kind. You're consistent. But it's like kissing a locked door. Something in me tried to reach for that, the old reflex to fix the muscle memory of making space for a softer explanation. I felt it and let it pass. So you decided to throw a rock through the window. She laughed. One short sound that hurt her throat. Yes, I wanted you to knock on the glass. I wanted the heat back. I wanted you to say, "Who is that guy?" I wanted you to say my name like it belonged to you. I could have argued. I could have told her about the reservations I made, the ways I tried to keep the boat from taking on more water than we could bail. But arguments are just better-dressed lies. I kept my hands flat on the table and asked the only question that mattered. Did it work? Her eyes filled, not with tears exactly, but with the knowledge that the scene had ended and we were still seated. No, she said. Not really. I kept turning the volume up and all I heard was myself. What about last night? I asked. The caption. She looked down. The people who really matter, she recited, as if the voiceover could be separated from the image. It was petty. I wanted to hurt you and pretend I wasn't. I wanted to put you in the audience and then sell all the tickets. Honesty, I said, is free. The invoice arrives for the performance. She swallowed. I know. We sat with that. A couple beside us laughed at something on a screen. A dog lay curled under a table, dreaming with its paws. The world did what it always does when private truths are spoken in public. It went on. I have more, she said finally. If you can stand it. I can stand it, I said, though my body disagreed. I made close friends, only lists, she continued, eyes on the cup. Different circles. One where you were blocked. One where you'd still see me being soft and quiet, the version I knew you wanted to believe in. Another where I pushed the edges, late nights, tight dresses, tagged locations. It felt surgical. I was splitting myself to manage your reactions. I told myself it was romantic because the goal was us. And all the while, I said, you were testing me. I was testing both of us, she corrected softly. You to see if you'd fight. Me to see if I could still make anyone look twice. You could have told me you were lonely. I did, she said, almost pleading. Not in those words, but I did. And you nodded, and you hugged me, and then you went back to being the safest man I have ever known. I started to feel like I was dating your discipline. The sentence cut cleanly. It was almost beautiful, and for that reason I hated it. So you made danger, I said. You built a room with mirrors and stood in the middle until you believed it was a crowd. She covered her mouth with her hand, then lowered it. Yes. Did you enjoy it? I asked. The attention. For a while, she said, and there was no lie left in her. It's a Dr*G. Tricks grief into thinking it has a future. But it's thin, Ethan. It leaves fast. And then you need more. And last night, she said, I thought I could have both. The noise in my phone and you at the door. I thought you'd do what you always do. Forgive me without me having to ask for it. I thought you'd open. When you didn't, I realized I'd staged the play and forgotten the exit. We went quiet. I watched the coffee go cold as if temperature could decide anything for me. She reached into her bag and pulled out a folded sheet of paper. I wrote this at 3, she said, sliding it across. It's everything you just heard and everything I can't say without sounding like I'm still manipulating you. I'm not here to win. I'm here to tell the truth and let you walk if that's the price. I didn't unfold it. What do you want from me? I asked. I want you to believe that I love you, she said. Her voice didn't wobble. And I want you to punish me less than I deserve. I looked at her hands, still, pale, ringless, and thought about last night, the way she sat by my door and waited like shame can keep a person warm. I thought about the months she'd been building sets inside a house that should have been a home. I thought about the word strategy and how far you have to travel from tenderness to use it on someone you claim. I'm not your father, I said. I don't do punishments. I know, she whispered, and the relief in her voice made me ache. What I am, I continued, is a man who had a birthday. I made a reservation at the place where we first told the truth. And last night, you taught me how quickly truth can be repackaged as content. She blinked hard. I'm sorry. Your apology, I said, is accepted by the part of me that still wants to carry you out of this fire. The rest of me is deciding whether the house is already gone. She nodded, as if that verdict had long been scheduled and she'd only arrived to hear it read. "If you walk," she said, "I won't chase you online. I won't manufacture a hero out of the next man who buys me a drink. I won't pretend this was mutual. I'll just stop." "Stopping," I said, "is the first honest thing you've offered me in months." We stood at the same time. The scrape of chairs sounded like a verdict too. Outside, the rain had thinned to mist, the kind that sticks to skin and won't leave until you move through it. At the door, she tried to take my hand. I didn't give it, not to be cruel, to be exact. "Will you call me?" she asked. "I'll answer," I said. It was the most I could promise without lying to myself. She nodded, then turned and walked away, coat closed tight, dress flickering at the hem with each step like something expensive that had learned the price of itself. I stood under the awning a long time after she was gone. People passed, holding cups, holding hands, holding their own quiet negotiations. I unfolded the paper at last. Her handwriting tilted left, rushing downhill toward confession. I read every line. There was nothing there I hadn't already heard. There was everything there I couldn't forgive in an afternoon. I folded it back up and slid it into my pocket like a bandage I might need later. By the time I reached my car, the mist had turned invisible. The city had. My birthday had. What remained was the steady thud of a heart counting the cost of staying, and the equal cost of leaving. I drove home without music. The road made its own. Tomorrow would be for decisions. Today belonged to the inventory. The stories, the captions, the staged distances, the borrowed eyes of strangers. The months of being tested by a woman who claimed she wanted the truth but couldn't stop fencing it. When I reached my door, I pressed my palm to the wood where she'd once rested her cheek. Cold, honest, empty. I unlocked it and stepped inside, feeling the room register me like a returning ghost. One more thing remained to be said, but it wasn't for her. It was for me. No more experiments. No more curated pain. I would not be turned into a lesson. The next knock on this door would be mine, leaving or letting her go. I woke before the alarm. Not from rest, but from the kind of clarity that doesn't wait for daylight. The air was thin, cold, and perfectly still, the silence of a house that knew it was about to lose something. Lauren's note lay folded on the kitchen counter where I'd left it the night before. I read it again, though I already knew every line by heart. It wasn't a confession anymore. It was a ledger, names, moments, motives, all the small transactions that had replaced trust with theater. I brewed coffee and watched the steam rise. My birthday had been 2 days ago, but the calendar might as well have reset the whole year. I was 33, and I finally understood the math of what I'd built. Love given on credit, honesty paid in installments, truth repossessed when it became inconvenient. Lauren texted mid-morning. "Can I come by? I left my scarf." She meant, "I need to see if the door's still open." I typed back, "Sure," then deleted it. I waited a minute and sent, "Not yet." Her reply came fast, "Please, Ethan. I just want to talk." I didn't answer. I'd already heard everything I needed. I didn't need another round of apologies folded into strategy. Instead, I sat at my desk and opened a document on my laptop. At the top, I wrote, "Lauren, 2 years." I started listing everything I'd paid for, planned, carried, endured. The trips, the dinners, the gifts that were really peace offerings disguised as affection. The nights I stayed up waiting for a text that would never come. The mornings she swore she'd been asleep when her phone had been lighting up until 2 a.m. It wasn't about the money. It was about weight. Every act had been a brick, and I wanted to see the shape of the house I'd built alone. By noon, I stopped counting. I wasn't looking for a total anymore. I was looking for a conclusion. The truth was simple. She hadn't broken my heart. She'd unmasked it. She showed me how small it had become, shrunk by compromise and careful silence. When the knock finally came at the door, I knew it was her. No one else knocked like that. 2 soft taps and a pause, as if waiting for forgiveness to echo back. I opened it halfway. She stood there holding a scarf that wasn't hers. A decoy, an excuse. Her hair was pinned up, her face bare. She looked human again. Beautiful in the way regret can make someone beautiful, unguarded, humbled, late. "Hi," she said. "Hi." She looked past me into the apartment, into the space that used to hold her laughter. "Can I come in?" I hesitated, then stepped aside. She entered like someone crossing into a church, quiet, reverent, afraid of ghosts. She set the scarf on the table, though she knew it didn't belong to her. "I've been thinking," she said. "I'm sure you have." Her eyes flicked toward mine, testing if I'd still let her read me. "About what I did. About what it means." I said nothing. Silence is sometimes the truest mirror. "I wasn't trying to hurt you," she said, then winced at the sound of her own defense. "No, that's not right. I was trying to hurt you. I just didn't think it would work." She folded her hands, pressing her thumbs together until they turned white. "I wanted you to fight for me. I didn't realize I'd been asking you to fight my own emptiness." Her honesty was better now, raw, unadorned. But I'd learned that confession isn't the same as change. "I know you think this is manipulation," she said quietly. "And maybe it was. But it wasn't cruelty. It was panic. I didn't know how to tell you that I was scared you'd stopped wanting me." "You made sure of it," I said. Her chin trembled. "I thought jealousy meant love." "It means possession," I said. "And I never wanted to own you. I wanted to trust you." She nodded, eyes down. "You did. That's what makes this worse." We stood in the stillness of that truth. Finally, she looked up. "Is this it?" I thought about the Thai restaurant, the empty reservation, the window where we once told each other the truth. The night her lie replaced it with a caption. "Yes," I said. "This is it." Her breath caught. "Just like that." "It's not just like that," I said. "It's everything that led here. It's every small test I didn't know I was taking." Tears welled in her eyes but didn't fall. "I wrote you another letter," she said, pulling an envelope from her bag. "It's not for forgiveness. It's just for record." I didn't take it. "Keep it," I said. "You're the one who needs the record." She set it on the counter anyway. The soft sound of paper on wood felt final. When she turned to leave, I almost stopped her. Old reflex, the hand that used to reach out before the mind could object. But I didn't move. At the door, she paused. "You were good to me," she said. "I just didn't know what to do with good." "That's the thing about it," I said. "It doesn't ask to be managed. It just asks to be seen." She nodded, one sharp, helpless motion, then walked out. The door closed without drama. No shouting. No slammed hinges. Just the click of an ending that had been rehearsed in silence for months. I stood there a long time, staring at the scarf that wasn't hers, at the envelope I didn't open, at the empty apartment that finally looked like mine again. Later that week, she sent the letter anyway, the long one. 12 pages, handwritten, full of confession and context. She mailed it to my office because she knew I wouldn't answer her messages. I read it once. She called the lies coping mechanisms. She said the manipulation came from fear of fading. She said she never wanted to lose me, only to prove she still could. I folded it neatly, placed it back in the envelope, and filed it in a drawer under receipts. That was a month ago. Since then, she's tried twice to reach me. Once through a mutual friend. Once by showing up at my work. Security turned her away. I didn't need the drama. I'd already lived it. Some nights I still replay the rooftop video in my mind. Her laugh under neon. The caption. The lie. But it doesn't ache anymore. It's just noise. The sound of a performance closing after its final act. The thing about illusions is they don't break loudly. They dissolve like sugar in water. Slowly, invisibly, until one day you realize there's nothing left to taste. I learned that love without honesty isn't love. It's marketing. It's a brand built on borrowed light, designed to be seen but never lived in. And I was tired of selling my peace for someone else's attention. I don't know what Lauren learned. Maybe nothing. Maybe everything. But I know what I did. That some lies don't deserve confrontation. They deserve absence. So I gave her mine. I returned her things. I blocked her number. I stopped checking her page. The silence that followed wasn't empty, it was earned. The night I finally deleted the photo of us at the waterfront, I noticed something. Behind us, in the reflection of the restaurant window, the lights of the ferry had blurred into a white streak across the bay, a line separating two darknesses. I stared at it for a long time before I understood. That was us. A brief passage. A moving light pretending to be permanent. When the image disappeared from my phone, I felt something like peace. Not joy, not triumph, just peace, small and solid, the kind that stays. And maybe that's all truth really is, what remains after the performance ends. Was I wrong to test her that night, to make her face the note on my door? Was I cruel for watching her sit in the hallway while I waited in silence? Maybe. But if love is supposed to be a mirror, then so is consequence. She lied to feel wanted. I withdrew to feel real. Now the balance is even. And in that quiet, perfect symmetry, the question still hangs. Would you have opened the door?